So we're going to start with the session now. So next speaker is Paresh. He's a senior manager in the information design and development team at BMC Software. I guess everybody knows Paresh for the awesome work he does in compiling the salary survey. We are very happy to announce that he's already published it today. So you can just Google it and you'll find the salary survey for India. He's going to talk about creating tomorrow's information experience with the current team. So I'll hand it over to Paresh to take us through. Thanks.
Hello everyone. So I'm now going to give you a process to create tomorrow's information experience. Neither I'm going to give you a 7-step procedure or anything like that. But I thought because this conference is happening in Pune after such a long time, and it got inaugurated by a Kulkarni and Abhyankar in Pune, I thought I'll tell you some stories and experiences about Pune and also tell you what is happening in our company, and hopefully from all of that you can get some hints and apply that in your unique context, right? So let's get started. So as I said, I'm going to give you a Puneker's take. So let me first take this Kolhapuri headgear out, and that I was born in Kolhapur, and I spent my college years and the rest 20 years of career in Pune. So I consider myself a Puneker. And you see this unique headgear. This is the Puneri Pagdi, right? Our graphics designer is also a Punekar. So she has put aura around it, right? So anybody who wears that pagdi, right, has that aura. And, Punekars are not just proud of their city like everybody else is proud of their own city. It's called Abhiman. We have extreme superlative pride of our city, right? It's called Jajwalya Abhiman. And so with that Jajwalya Abhiman of being a Punekar, let me give you 3 stories, 3 experiences about Pune. One about what I mean by tomorrow's information experience, and what I mean by information experience, and what I mean by with today's team, right? So let's move on. And the first picture that you see are really 2 pictures of the same street in Pune called Lakshmi Road, right? This is the busiest commercial street in Pune where you can buy jewelry, you can buy clothes, and you can buy footwear and anything. This one is before independence in 1940s, and this one is today's picture of the same street, okay? This is Lakshmi Road, Pune. What I want you to observe is the differences between the 2 pictures. Just during the short span, if you look at the bigger picture, just 70 years have passed by. But what all has changed? Obviously, there's a lot of clutter. There's a lot of advertising happening, right? The signboards are this small here. And it's all cluttered with advertisements. Second, there's absolutely no automobile, right? A lot of people are walking on the road. There's only one pedestrian on the road. And what you see here as public transport means is 2 tangas, right? These are horse carriers, also called Victorias. So in 1940s, we didn't have a single automobile on the streets of Pune. And the means of having public transport was these Victorias. There are hundreds of them. There were stations at Swargate, Tanga stations, at Ghorpadi, at Khadki. Even Ghorpadi today has a place called Tanga Station. There's no Tangas obviously there. But, and forward to 70 years later, today, you see a lot of auto rickshaws, right? And you see a lot of automobiles on the road. Today we have about 45,000 auto rickshaws in Pune running on the roads of Pune. And we have about 50 lakh vehicles in Pune. The population is about 90 lakhs. So you can imagine the density. And it's not only about the vehicles running on the roads, it's also about Pune creating those vehicles, producing those vehicles. We have a big plant from Tata here, Telco Motors, Bajaj. We even have Mercedes-Benz, right? Pune has become Detroit of India, right? And there's so many vehicles. So the point I'm making is, nobody imagined, none of these Tangawalas imagined that their profession is going to go away. In 70 years, they're going to be replaced by rickshawalas, right? So as people who are leading technical communications teams in your organizations, I want you guys to think of yourselves as these Tangawalas. Those Tangawalas who could not see what is coming perished. Those who could see how and what is changing in their environment could quickly adopt to the next wave of that change. And so much is changing around us. If I take the same picture by the next conference, this picture would be here, and there'll be all Ola cabs and Uber cabs here, right? So much is changing. Your commercial environment is changing, your socio-economical environment is changing, your technical environment is changing, your competitive landscape is changing. And as leaders, your job is to look at and always have an eye on tomorrow. What is happening in your profession, in the domain in which your company operates, and how things are going to change, right? We all do as leaders, hiring, firing, performance management, goal setting, chasing the release deadline, project management, quality management, review, risk management, metrics, reporting, so much. All of that continues. But the biggest job of a leader, all of that you can delegate to your smart writers, but what you cannot delegate, you are in a unique position that you must do is visualize how tomorrow is going to look like in your profession, right? And that's what I mean by why you need to think about tomorrow, because today is going to be quickly redundant, faster than you can think of. A couple of other things about these pictures. One of these is very rare picture. Can you imagine which one? The one on that side or this side? How many think this is a rare picture? How many of you think this is a rare picture? That is a true Punekar. So, what's rare about this? They have stopped at the traffic signal, right? There's only one pedestrian crossing. There's no traffic cop in the scene anywhere. Everybody is stopped on Lakshmi Road, right? Anyway, no, that's not the point. I'm saying, if you really carefully look at it, one thing hasn't changed between these two pictures. The profession of public transportation existed here and also exists here. Those Tangawalas who thought of their profession as keeping those Victorias, maintaining those Tangas and feeding the horses, perished. But those who thought of their profession as taking passengers from point A to point B really saw their profession in the right way. And they just changed the way they do their profession. And I think as technical writers, we should also define our job in the right way to be able to see what is happening tomorrow. Our job is not creating user manuals and helps, right? If you really have to use that analogy, our job is whichever company you work for, your customers buy those products, right? To get the maximum value to those customers in the shortest possible time is our real job. And they are different. Today, delivering help is one way of doing that. But there are different ways of achieving that target. And that is our real job. You have to see your job in the right light, and then a lot of possibilities open. And that's what I'm going to talk about in my second thing. It's okay, I just have 3 slides. So before I move into this, now that I have reminded you of your true job as a visionary, right? Somebody who can look at what is coming tomorrow, how these trends are going to impact us, and how you're going to adopt to that. I want you to think about what you're going to do differently once you're reminded of that. Let me give you a few examples of what we did in BMC before moving to the next slide. We were a frame maker documentum shop. So we saw this when we realized what are the big trends impacting our domain in which we operate, IT administration business. We thought of 4 things: social, mobile, analytics, and cloud computing. And when we looked at how the social media is changing how people interact with the content, we realized content is no longer static text, it is an ongoing dialogue. And if content is ongoing dialogue, our tools, our delivery must enable that. So we had a big investment in moving that from that FrameMaker and Documentum shop into an XML and data-based authoring system. But when we realized it's not going to serve our purpose, we took a bold decision to abandon a big investment in that project. We went back and said that was a wrong decision, and we moved all of our content on Wiki. Today, our content is available on Wiki. Anybody can look at it. Anybody can put comments on it. And in fact, for our writers, a release is never done. We keep receiving comments directly from the customers. They like it, they rate it, they hate it, they put comments, and every time we quickly respond to that. One of the majors in our team is what is our responsiveness to customer comments. So our content is social, equivalent to what is happening in the social trend, right? Next thing is about mobile, right? I mean, we abandoned using Flash and all those technologies, and our writers are learning HTML5. All of the infographics or the interactive graphics that we deliver are being delivered as graphics in HTML5. So it's all responsive. You can view our site in mobile. You can look at the content, consume the content on mobile. We also look at a lot of analytics from Google Analytics, right? We know how many of our pages are viewed by which type of users, how frequently, what is the visit rate, what is the bounce rate, how much time do we spend, and all of that analytics really helps drive our investment decisions in different product lines, right? So we use analytics, and we are on cloud. BMC is an IT company, but we still don't host our own documentation. All our videos are on YouTube. All of our content, the wiki server itself is outsourced. It's somewhere on the cloud, hosted by a third-party vendor. So all in our context, those were the changes that we had to make in order to cater for what is coming in tomorrow, right? I want all of you to think for 5 minutes. I'm going to give you some time, right? Think for 5 minutes as to what is changing in your environment and what is the first step that you're going to take when you go back from this conference, now that you realized your job is to look around in your environment and check what is going to apply. It could be a very small thing like, I'm going to pick 3 smartest writers in my team and have a brainstorming session with them about which trends to apply to our environment. Or it could be just simple thing like, all of my commute time in the first week of every month, I'm just going to think about which trend I'm going to pick up for this year to apply in my environment. Those are some examples. So go ahead and think about it. Write down. I'm going to ask some of you to share those. So it's your time. Don't look at me. Look at your notebook. What is your wisdom? Wisdom stands for, what am I going to see and do differently on Monday? Anybody ready with anything? Perfect. So there's a hook for you. Who wants to win this badge of honor? You want to? Go ahead.
I work for QSI Healthcare, and right now we are having problems with web help. So we are using a tool called Authorit, and the web help for that is not that great. So it doesn't compare with RoboHelp and other tools. So maybe on Monday, what I'll do is I will try to find another tool which will help us to improve our web help, and maybe I'll ask my manager to arrange for some training after I do my research.
It's exactly changing your vehicle. Your Tanga is not working. Nobody from Authorit here, right?
Hi, I work as a team manager at Financial Software and Systems. So our company products, the documentation, we cannot publish it online. But the current documentation is in Word, PDF, RoboHelp, everywhere. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and implement data. And I am going to create video tutorials. Because the biggest problem that we face is nobody knows how the product works. Including the team that develops the product, they don't know how it works. So I am going to create video tutorials for internal team as well as the customers. That's the step that I'm going to take.
Perfect. All the best with that situation where the developers don't know what they are developing. Okay. Yes. She's my friend, so she needs to have one. Okay. Thank you, Deval.
So now with changing scenario, if you see the attention span of users is now getting more and more limited. They approach help only when they're stuck somewhere. So I would go for formats where there is more of a FAQ-based documentation, and it will follow the user. Instead of they coming to help, coming to documentation for help, somehow we'll make sure that the help goes to them whenever they are stuck at that place. So
that was very profound, and so you get this. Help follows the user. I'll be interested in looking at TIBCO documentation after 4 years and seeing how it follows me. So the next one, and next time I'm going to make it tough. The best question gets this, okay? You have 2 more opportunities. In no means, I'm really interested, I'm not joking. If you can do that, that's going to be great. So, there are different ways, right? So, what I'm saying is, if you look at what you want to do tomorrow and think about your job in the right perspective of enabling the customer to get maximum value from their investment in the product, then a lot of opportunities open up. One media is not the answer. There are multiple ways of doing that. And as she said, she's going to do videos. This is somebody may be doing graphics and things like that, right? So what then matters is understanding what is going to really strike with that customer in that situation and making the right combination of all those options that you have available with you.
And the way I'm changing the documentation is the way, not the standard way that it's published in our company, but how the user actually has to use it. So I'll be repeating back and forth from a user guide to tell them what in the data dictionary or something they'll need to refer to here and that. So that's what I'm working on, is the whole workflow.
Right.
So you don't have to change.
Agree, yeah. You don't have to blindly follow every trend.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You have to find out what works in your situation, right?
Right.
Not all Tongawalas have perished. In Pune, although I can count them on my fingers, there's some, and we all use them once in a lifetime during the marriage. The Bharat goes still on Tonga, right? So what I'm saying is, find out the right combination, and in your case, it could be just the PDFs. In somebody else's case, no PDFs at all, right? And that right combination takes me to the next experience about Pune. Learn something about Pune while you're here. you must visit this place called Bedekar Misal, right? It started in 1948. It's still there. It's doing big business, right? What they have found is they have, and they're Punekars, so they haven't changed it. They don't serve tea anymore. But it's still called tea stall, and but it's special misal. Misal is a recipe which is very unique to this part of Maharashtra, which is a combination of sprouts, farsan, and there's a spicy liquid called curry, right? And you find the right combination. All of these are available to everybody, all the misal walas. But only this guy makes a lot of business, and there's another person, Katakir, who also makes a lot of business. He has found his own combination. And once you find that, you can do things like this. 20 rupees extra if you share it. That's what this means. And what this means is, even in this age where you can package anything, if you want a parcel, you have to bring your own dabba. That's what this is saying. So what I'm saying is, and you can't read it, but a big thinker of today's age said, don't deliver better documentation, deliver information experience, which is a combination, the right combination, like this misal. It could have just the PDFs, it could have videos and PDFs, it could have a web help, it could have just the graphics, it could have just the text on the UI and no help. We do not, at BMC, do documentation plans anymore. We have abandoned them. What has started is we call information experience plan. At the beginning of writing for any feature, the writer is expected to follow the template of information experience planning. We want them to look at, just like the product has graduated from feature function to user experience, we want our documentation to follow from chapters and section to information experience. And what we ask writers to do in that plan is think about personas. We're going to use this feature. Think about the use cases. And for each use case and for a given persona, what is the information need? For that given information need, what are the ways of fulfilling that information need? And we give a list, in a prioritized list. The first possible way of fulfilling that information need is by text on the UI, or just by designing the UI the right way. If that is not possible, then, and then only, can you put a graphic? Can you put a static image? If that is not possible, can you put an interactive graphic? If that is not possible, can you do a video? If all of that is not possible, then go and write a topic on Wiki. So instead of defaulting to opening a blank page and starting to write a procedure, we make that as a last option, and we ask our writers to think about the overall information experience starting from when they look at the UI. If your questions are answered there, you're not supposed to write anything about that information need. So only things that these options cannot fulfill, then you go and write. It automatically makes it minimal, it automatically makes it maintainable, it automatically makes it more custom. I'll come to you. Satisfaction, that's what we did, right? So what is your right combination? I want you to think about, and that may not apply, as she said, but in your context, what is your right combination? Again, I'll give you some time to think about. You may not come up with the right combination right now, but what are the steps to find out that right combination? For example, we did a survey on our website. Anybody who is on the site gets a questionnaire, and we ask, these are the different delivery medias possible, which one you like most? So it's not me who's deciding. It's not my writer who's deciding. We asked the customers, what do you like? And based on that, we decided to add more ingredients to our misal. Whatfix stall that you see outside, we are one of the early adopters of that technology. In fact, we drove all of the localization requirement on that tool. This is a tool where you actually give the walkthrough of the product within the product without the writer having to code it, right? So what combinations are, what ingredients are missing in your combination? what things you want to bring on board to make it a perfect combination. Think about that for some time.
All the products should be documented. That
Yeah, there's no definition in the law about it needs to be documented to what extent, right?
Please ask questions on the mic because we are recording. So if not, your questions will not be.
Hi, this is Shirish from Nagpur. I work at a BI company. Now that we are talking about information experience, it really doesn't always have to be just for the client side. It could be somebody who is using your service, that is a client, and it could be also an information experience for the people working in the company itself. So we are working on something called Knowledge Repository. It's a one-stop shop for everyone to go and find documents related to their projects. However, in most of the companies, we are still using the good old email for all the communication. What if the communication could be done through a simple app? Like, I get up in the morning, I don't have to log in to see my email, but what if a company-wide app is there in which whatever I require, I can access it through my mobile and through my app. We use something similar, like our company has something called, we have certain booths of all the projects, and everybody goes and visits those booths and try to see what they're doing. And we decided to rate the booths, and the rating was shown through the app. We had an app for anyone who was visiting those booths. So something similar could be done, say, for a day-to-day communication, an app-based communication system, and which connects directly to the central repository.
Right.
Because it's ultimately an information experience, not just about documentation, right?
Right, right. So yeah, I take your point. Persona is the first thing that you start with. Who's going to consume this information? And it could be internal, as you said. I don't know about the app. I'm already overwhelmed with so many apps which communicate with me. So I'm going to come to the next slide before giving you a chance to ask questions, because people are hungry and we want to optimize the time. Look at this disclaimer, okay? You ask your questions which are relevant, ask them, they have to be very short. Otherwise, you're going to get a Puneri Tomna. Okay? Remember, I'm the speaker. You're the audience. So, what's your wisdom on realizing that we're not going to deliver documentation? As Paresh Naik said, we're going to deliver information experience. Sachin.
So my question is slightly more basic. We were doing a persona evaluation. We were looking at what would be the need for a task, even when we were creating our regular docs. So what prepares us to kind of do the information experience instead of the documentation experience?
We were doing all of this, but we were just thinking about the delivery channel as limited to what is available to us. That's the biggest difference. I think all of that analysis you can use to deliver the best possible document. Instead, think about using all the same analysis to deliver best possible overall experience, right? So what you're expanding is saying what is available to you is not limited to your title. Just because you're a technical writer doesn't mean you keep writing and writing and writing, right? If something can be put on the UI, put it there. You're not replacing UI guys, that's for sure. I mean, we have a usability team there. But a lot of times we say, just add this screen, and what then changes is, you say no to anybody who says this needs to be documented. We say this need is fulfilled on the UI, we're not going to document it.
When you decided to go into this information experience channel, you wanted to change, what happened to your users transition into that system? Because they still used to that traditional whatever you have given them now. So how did they change, and how much time did it take for them to come into this?
Interesting question. You get the badge for this slide. How do the users adapt to what you are trying to do? You may do a lot of experiments, but what happens to the users for whom you're doing this and from where the salary comes, right? So I'll tell you an interesting experience. We did this, as I said, analysis of what kind of media do you like. PDF was most interesting. The equal number of people who hated PDFs and equal number of people who liked PDFs. And we wanted to move them away from PDFs, right? So what we did was we gave, just for the sake of saying that PDF is available to you, a space PDF and ability to create PDFs if you want, but we did not deliver them as nice PDFs. We had to take decisions like some interactivity will not be available in PDFs. And so we said, okay, if you are a PDF user, you're not going to get that. And we had a lot of resistance from the old users, right? Or even within the company, an old architect would say, this video is nice, but I would like to sit back and read through how it really evolves, this upgrade procedure. We had to say no, right? Because we said, what is the majority of customers are looking for? There'll be some, and you have to make those trade-offs. Otherwise, you'll be always pulled back by those forces, and you'll never enter in tomorrow. If you cater to just today's needs, you will be left behind, and today quickly will become yesterday. So there are some early adopters, hang on to them, right? Take their feedback and showcase it to your business leaders. And say, look, there may be some people complaining, but there are this bunch of people who are liking this, right? And we did that. We said, we're going to ignore this batch. And eventually, it's the same problem when people refuse to upgrade to the new version because they like the old version. Do companies stop releasing newer versions? They don't. Eventually, the people do upgrade when you stop support. Same for delivery medias that we use.
Example. From my perspective, the ingredients are known. They exist. We need the combination to go right. And to a certain extent, Bidekar and Katakip, they have their own brands and they have their own taste. What we need to bring in is customization to that extent also.
Right.
There is one recipe, plus there has to be certain customization.
Yes.
So if I bring in that documentation for my company, I think we'll be able to handle most of the customer base which I need.
Right. Perfect. So that's the point. That's why it's MISR, right? It's a combination of everything. Yeah. No. Nothing to do with environment. No. We care least in Pune about environment. You go and walk the roads and see all the garbage there. It's incidental. I'll be very frank. This is what we deal with. I mean, I'm a Punekar, I would say agree, yes, we are green, but that's not the truth. So, the last story, last 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you a story about a fort near Pune. It's today called Sinhagad, it used to be called Kondhana. And the Maratha Emperor Shivaji had lost this in a treaty to Mughals. And he wanted it back in his empire. So he summoned one of his stalwarts called Tanaji Malusare to go and conquer this. The story goes that Tanaji was busy preparing for his son's wedding. And he said, if this is a call from my king, I'll attend to the call of duty first, the wedding can wait. So he, along with his brother, his uncle, and 300 of his men, went to this fort. This was that time guarded by Udaybhan, who had a trained army, much, much more in numbers compared to those 300 soldiers. And they were not full-time soldiers, mind you. They were farmers and workmen who wanted to do something for the king. And so he went in the dark of the night. This was heavily guarded from all the sides, except for a few places where the valley was very deep. And it was almost impossible for anybody to climb that cliff, so that they didn't have guards there. So in a moonless night, Tanaji went there, and he uses this domesticated lizard called Ghorpad. It's a big one, and that's an expert in climbing the rocky terrains. So he tied a rope to it, and he sent it up. And that went up, and kind of has very strong claws. So one of his men went up with that rope, and he tied it, and one by one, all 300 people went up. And in the middle of night, the enemy was not expecting anybody from this side. They made a sudden surprise attack on the enemy. And they were caught by shock. Obviously, there were casualties, but they were outnumbering these people. So there was fierce fighting. Udaybhan himself took on Tanaji, and they had a long battle. Tanaji broke his shield. This is 1670, no guns, it's all swords. Tanaji broke his shield and eventually lost his life. He was killed and he also killed Udaybhan, so both were killed. Seeing that their leader has died, Maratha army have lost their courage and they started to run back. That moment, Suryaji, Tanaji's brother, came in the front and said, "Where are you running? I have cut the rope that we used to climb up. The option that we have is either we jump off the cliff and die or face the enemy." That recharged the remaining Maratha warriors. They started again and they almost killed everybody and the fort was conquered. And there was a signal given to Shivaji Maharaj with a flame. And the second day when Shivaji got to know that he's lost Tanaji in this battle, he said, "God ala, but Sinha gela." I lost my lion, although I got my fort. And so this is now called the Fort of Lions. It's just outskirts of Pune. The point I'm going to make is, the rope that we have all used to come to this place, this phase of technical communication in India today, is cut. In BMC, I used to have 4 or 5 writers 7 or 8 years back in my BU in Pune, and about 35 to 40 writers in US, in California and Houston, all the places. The numbers are exactly opposite today. There are 4 or 5 left in US. Year by year, there's reduction. And that's the same story in another BU. There's the same story in whichever manager I talk to. So the ropes are cut. We are on our own. There's nobody who's going to give you the GAN about which process to follow, which template to use, which tool to choose. We have to make those decisions. We have to fight that battle now. It's in our control. Our Tanaji is dead. Our rope is cut. And if you're thinking that you go ahead and hire those smart writers in India and make that happen, believe me, that's not possible either. Because there are not that many smart writers out there. Every conversation that I have with any documentation manager, I can't hire because it's not eligible candidates out there. That's the reality of today, right? And you have to live with that, you have to work with that. So even if you have doubled your salary budget, you have all the approval to replace your current team which is not functioning and hire smart people, you can't do that because they don't exist. What you have is what you have in your team. At BMC, what we do is we hire interns every year. 1/3 of our team is made up of those people who started as interns, got coached, got trained, and are now functioning as very capable technical writers. So what I'm saying is, You have to start with what you have. Your role is a visionary to decide what is the right combination, and most importantly, your role is a coach's role. You have to coach your existing writers. You cannot expect tomorrow's team to be available to you now. You have to create your own team from your existing writers. So your job as a coach is the most important job that you have. And with that, I want you to give another few minutes to think about what's your wisdom? What are you going to do differently now that you know you need a combination and you need to be a coach to your writers? What is it that you can do to become a coach? You may be already doing some things. What additionally you can do? Let's hear from you. There's a hand there. Yeah.
Currently, if we see the technical writing team, I would say it's an iceberg. And the innovation part or the creativity part, we have a combination of competence and skill in that iceberg. But the later, iceberg is submerged and the innovation or creativity or I can do it, that attitude is not exposed. So if I have to think about my team, as a coach, I would like to push that iceberg and expose the tip of that iceberg further, more.
Perfect. So you want to find what is hidden in your team and you want to expose that hidden talent. One. What else? Mike here. Look, you're competing for the last badge of honor.
I would like to cite examples in our team. We conducted a skills matrix wherein we found out wherein each person from the team wrote down the skills they were proficient in, they needed more training on, and based on this kind of a skills matrix, specialized trainings were conducted. There was one training on SVG graphics wherein the writers were better able to use SVG graphics. There was the in-house editor in the team conducted trainings for the team on editing skills, and in short or in summary, what I would like to say is we can organize specialized training sessions and find out skills which the writers could be better trained in, and better equip our writers to meet the changing demands.
Right, right. Skills matrix, find the gaps and fill them by training. Although I don't know where do you find this training. Except for STC conferences, it's a genuine problem I have. Where do you find specialized trainings for writer? Somebody who's not spoken before, the lady in sari. Okay, I'll come to you. I'll come to you. This is the end of it. If you have any question, ask me until Sangeeta says it's done. And the moment we are done, we're going to get lunch, so think about this.